Good afternoon, everybody. It's 3 o'clock. We're here at Brownsville PUB's Annex Building. This is the Finance Committee. We have a quorum. We'll go ahead and move into public comments. Any public comments?
No public comment.
No public comments, okay. So the items for presentation discussion, we have 3 items. First item, presentation and discussion of the Brownsville Public Utilities Board Financial Performance Report for the period ending June 30th, 2025. Mike?
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. So my name is Mike Perez. I'm the Chief Financial Officer, and I'll be presenting the Financial Performance Report for PUB as of June 30th, 2025. So here we have the executive summary that includes focuses on 7 categories. First one, each one has its own gauge meter, red representing poor, yellow is good, and green is good. Yellow is average and green is good. I apologize for that. So on the flow of funds, PPUB has generated $3,851,000 to replenish the improvement fund. Our debt service coverage is at 2.3 times debt service coverage, well above the 1.25 times minimum. The fuel purchase and energy charge has generated an over recovery of $22.47 million as of June. And this will be used to offset any future market uncertainty. The current rate is at 0.05019, and it's been maintained at that rate through this month, July, for the past 10 months. The City of Brownsville cash transfer is higher than budgeted. This is due to a lower COB utility usage, but primarily because of a lower FPEC rate. The FPEC rate for most of the year, last year, for eight months out of the 12 months was at 7.841 cents compared to the current 5.019 cents. That was a 56% higher, and so that has contributed to lower billings for the City of Brownsville. Personal expenses came in slightly higher than budgeted at 0.41%, representing about $180,000. And the non-personal expenses came in lower than budgeted by 11.3%, primarily due to some timing issues. BPUB's average bill is lower than both the average MOU bill and the average IOU bill for the 1,000 kWh residential electric user. That average bill for the 1,000 kWh user is at $111.26. The CIP year-to-date actuals and committed totaled $35.4 million and $40.7 million respectively, and this represents 100% of the fiscal year 25 approved plan. So we're doing good. I mean, we still need, we would like to see those actual expenditures a little higher than they currently are. All key financial metrics are currently in compliance. Here we've got a condensed statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. We're comparing current year's year-to-date actual to prior year-to-date actual. And this report is in compliance with generally accepted accounting principles. So the 2025 year-to-date revenues totaled $168,449,000, which represents about $2.3 million decrease from last year. So we did see a decrease of $380,000 in base revenue, a decrease of $12.1 million in the fuel revenue, and a decrease of $1 million in the off-system sales. And so the remaining item that makes up the change was that $9.5 million of rate stabilization funds that we used last year to pay down some of the customers' production cost. So we end up at okay, so now we have operating expenses of $145,985,000. Those came in at about $4.7 million from prior year. This represents a decrease in fuel cost, again, at $12.1 million, an increase in personnel cost of $3.9, an increase in contractual and other services of $3.8 million. And so that leaves us, we get to an operating income line 3 at $22,464,000. Once we back out the net non-operating expenses of $13,394,000, we end up with income before capital contributions of $9,070,000. After adding in capital contributions of $14,171,000, we end up with an increase in net position year-to-date of $23,241,000. Adding this to the net position at the beginning of the fiscal year, we end up with a net position at the end of the period of $498,377,000. And here we've got a condensed summary of revenues and expenses. This is based on the flow of funds. This is in compliance and accordance with the bond ordinance. Here we are comparing the year-to-date actuals with a year-to-date budget. So we got operating revenues of $159,914,000. Those came in $29.9 million below budget. Now, this line item does include both base rate and fuel revenues along with the off-system sales, energy sales. So the base rate revenues were under budget by $8.2 million, and this, we expect to make this up in the next 3 months, which is the higher grossing months. Fuel was under budget by $25.2 million, and the off-system sales were over budget by $3.5 million. That's what made up the difference. So we got other revenues year to date of $19,396,000, coming in at $2 million over budget. This represented the interest earnings as compared to the budget. So we got line 3 gross revenues of $179,311,000. Once we back out the fuel and Southwest Regional Water Authority contributions of $56,292,000, we arrive at adjusted gross revenues of $123,018,000. This represents the amount that we used to calculate the 10% transfer calculation to the City of Brownsville. So the City of Brownsville is entitled to $12,301,000 off of that. So on line 6, we back out other requirements for O&M, non-operating debt service of $95,270,000, and we end up with a balance available after requirements of $27,747,000. Now we back out the total cash and utility benefit to the City of Brownsville of $12,301,000, and end up with the balance available for transfers out, or PPB uses, of $15,445,000. This amount was then used to fund our CIP and reserve requirements of $11,594,000, leaving a balance to replenish the improvement fund of $3,851,000. And here again, our debt service coverage is at 2.3 times. That concludes the presentation. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Hey, Mike, do you have a feel for July? I mean, you said like consumption was down in June, but for July, do you think that revenues are going to exceed what they were July of last year, or about the same?
No, I actually just got those consolidated statements today, and base revenues were down like 200 or 300,000 from last year. What I do understand, and I think this was reported last month to the board, was that we are experiencing some issues on the billing side because of the transition to AMI electric meters, and so I know that there were some of those utility bills that were deferred. And so we're seeing that in the month of June. Hopefully we can catch up in July, or if not in August. So well, July, I just reported, right? We're about 200,000 below last year's level. But we are above the budgeted unit sales. So that's why I do anticipate that our revenue will match or exceed the budget that we're reporting.
Okay, so, and you commented that on the meters. How did that affect the revenue numbers?
It's because the billing had to defer some of the invoices. So the June invoice, instead of invoicing in June, they deferred to July. And so maybe July, the customer's going to end up seeing 2 bills rather than 1. I know that happened for a particular cycle, so.
So are you saying, I just want to make sure I understand, are you saying we undercollected?
Correct.
Well, that's going to kind of impact people, though. I mean, if they undercollected 1 month, they think, well, I got a lower bill, then
And then they
following
get hit
month,
with.
it's like, oh, no, it's
Yeah.
not an under.
I need to follow up with customer service, but that was the understanding, that some of the bills got deferred. The extent or amount of that, I'm not sure.
So it's not it's a deferred bill, not an uncollected bill. So in other
Right.
words, so it just said, maybe they got what happened was that in AMI, as the meters were being changed out, there was a deferred payment. So in other words, they're going to see 2 payments in July, 2 bills because of the delay. And it wasn't like a month or anything lagging. It was a few weeks, like 1 or 2 weeks.
It was a particular cycle,
Right.
right?
And it's not everybody.
So do we know how many customers were affected by that?
I have to go back to my last budget
know if I have
presentation.
anything.
We did have a number account. I don't know if anybody from customer services here.
No, I don't see anyone here.
We'll get back to you and tell you what it is. We do have a report that we did at last month's board meeting, the number of customers affected.
Okay.
I'm going to text them.
Okay. Hey, Mike, can you go back to the dashboard, please, just on the CIP? I know that's next on the agenda, but Okay, explain to me why, please, why CIPs, you have it as a yellow indicator?
Because of the current expenditures. We've expended about 35.4 million out of the 76 million budgeted. So we're at about 46% spent. But because we're already 9 months in, you would have expected that number would be exceeding 50%. And that's why we have it at average. Even though all the projects have already been committed, so there's an outstanding PO, there's work that's starting, we just haven't spent it yet. And so,
Okay, so when you say, which represents 100% of the fiscal year 25 approved plan, 100% of
the whole $76 million,
is committed,
35 million of that has been
spent?
the rest is already committed. So we've got a contract or purchase order already in place for that particular project.
Okay, and I'm sorry, but, so 35 has already been, so what's the 40.7 represent?
That's the committed.
They committed about?
That's the open PO. Right,
Okay,
so,
because I thought fiscal year, the amount was 70-something million.
right.
And I don't want to get ahead, I think.
Right.
we haven't- we
So
may-
here we've got the total amended plan, it's
Yeah.
at 76,099,000. 35 million has been spent year to date. The remaining 41, less the adjustments, well, 41,496,000 is open POs. So
Gotcha.
there's already work that's been started, or at least companies have been engaged to do the work.
I understand now, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I think that's it. We'll go to item number 2. Thank you, Mike. Presentation discussion on a year-to-date capital improvement plan activity as of June 30th, 2025.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee member. Jorge Santillan, Finance Manager. I will go over the combined utility financial summary, the CIP, and then Mr. David Ramirez will go over the key metrics and the cash flow. Beginning on the dashboard on the left side, total CIP budget 76.1 million. The actuals spent 35.4 million. The committed 40.7 million. Actuals, the percentage is 46.5, the committed 53.5. The footnote at the bottom, total commitments through June, total 41.5 million. The amount shown is capped at the available CIP budget. Now, these committed amounts, eventually they will become expenses, and some of those will be carried over into next fiscal year. Moving on the middle dashboard, the percentage of budget spent by project type, 60% of the electrical 27.7 budget has been spent. For wastewater, 42% of the $24 million budget has been spent, and for water, 41% of the 19.4 million spent, and for general and administration, 50% of the 4.9 million budget has been spent. Moving on the right side, year-to-date actuals committed by category. In blue, we have the actuals. Total actuals spent 35.4 million, committed 41.5. And from largest to smallest, under construction, actuals 16.2 million, committed 19.8, grant funded 6.4, committed 7.8, and this grant funded mainly, this is the ARPA downtown water wastewater project and also the AMI project. Then the customer connections, 7.8 actuals and 3.1 committed. Utility relocations, 1.4 actuals, 6.7 committed. In design, out for bids, 1.7 actuals, 2.5 committed. Vehicles and equipment, 2.1 actuals, 1.7 committed. And then lastly, the Hidalgo Energy Center, 100,000. And this is my end of my presentation. Any question before I turn it over to Mr. Ramirez?
No questions.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, committee members, Chair. My name is David Ramirez. I'll go over the following 4 slides, which compare the original cash flow estimated by project managers for the CAP versus the actual as year-to-date through June. And I'll be going over the following metrics: variance, percent as planned, as percent, and percent of complete from total. This is a summary of the CAP. We have a total of 263 CAP projects, $76 million budget. Year to date through June, our project managers estimated to have spent 38 million. The actual is 35. The variance there, it's $3.5 million. This graph is a summary of the total of the CAP. In June, as you can see, the amount spent is 35 million versus the estimated originally at 38.9. If we use the original amount estimated at the beginning of the fiscal year, that would project the total amount to be spent this fiscal year at 62 million. Now this table compares the top projects that are behind the original estimated expense amounts and the top projects that are ahead of their spending estimates. I don't know if you can see clearly, but the first project there, that's the AMI project, that's behind $1.1 million from the original estimate. But part of that is due to the fact that meters get purchased and paid and stored at the warehouse and not charged to the project until they get installed. From the project manager, the project's actually on time, and there's some deferred invoicing or charges to the project from what I mentioned on the meters themselves. They also have the next there on the list is the electric utility work project that's behind from the original estimate at almost $1 million. And then we have the ARPA. There's two line items for that particular project. One's for the water infrastructure and the other one for the wastewater. That particular project, it's behind by 637,000, roughly the same amounts for water and sewer. As far as the project itself, it did have a delayed start to avoid overlapping to projects 1 and 2. Project 1 has been completed, and Project 2 has been progressing satisfactorily. We also have the Hidalgo Capital Improvements Fund right there, next in line. Then we have city street projects, Old Highway 77. This particular project also had a slow start due to some field conflicts, due to a sewer line that was in conflict with the alignment of power poles. And it has had somewhat of a slow progress, but it's in progress. We have other projects there as well that are behind, like Unit 6. Project managers already have a contractor lined up, ready to be awarded. And I understand that they had a board item that was pulled from the last meeting. And then we have the other project listed there for city streets, Old Highway 77, it's the wastewater component. What's happening with that particular project, Old Highway 77, the contractor's approach, depending on the field conditions, they have been switching from the installation of the sewer line back to the storm line and so on and so forth. So that contributes to the slow progress that we're seeing here. And of course, the next 10 projects, those are ahead of their estimated spending schedule. A different angle or a different take to look at this, we separate them by utility. The bars there show the first one, the gray one is the actuals year to date. The middle one is the originally planned, and the dark blue is the total for the year. For the water projects, they're somewhat behind at $7.9 or $8 million versus 11 that they had planned year to date, versus the overall for the year, which would be 20 million. Wastewater is more in line with the original estimations at about 10 million versus the overall at 24 million. Then we have general and administrative projects, which include a variety of projects, including IT projects, the billboard construction, the e-builder software project, etc. And that is behind the original estimate. although we do expect some large dollar invoices to come in the next month. For instance, for the e-builder software, we expect to receive a $200,000 invoice. And other projects from IT, I understand there's some reduction in the scope, and so there will be some additional funds that can be shifted around. And lastly, the electrical projects, those are mostly, those are ahead of, like I mentioned earlier, their planned spending schedule by quite a bit. It's at 16.4 versus 13. They do still have quite a bit of funds for the remainder of the fiscal year. I believe that's it. Any questions?
Not from the financial. I think the previous slide and this slide are pretty good, pretty informative. I don't know if there's like a category of reason why some of these are either ahead of schedule or behind schedule. It would be interesting to see which ones we have control over and which ones we do not, right? There's going to be external factors, a developer, I don't know, parts or something, and then there's going to be, ones that we have more control, meaning that the team has more control. It'd be interesting to see kind of the breakdown of those. We can get a sense of it from the financial perspective, but it doesn't really tell us, what obstacles you may have, to see if there's anything we can do to support. Maybe it's headcount, we can
Definitely.
push through there. If it's other factors, we can try and help. But yeah, just really, really good slides. If there's another parameter that you can include to tell us, what's the obstacle is, we may be able to help.
Definitely, and we're currently surveying all project managers to help us understand and create metrics or statistics, a slide that can reflect what you're specifically requesting. But yeah, there's a number of reasons, a variety of reasons. In some cases, there's a lot of, if it's a underground utility conflict, once you start digging out, you're gonna come across things that you didn't foresee, maybe more groundwater that you didn't anticipate, or utilities that were not in as-built, et cetera. In other instances, delays have been caused by switching scope of work throughout the year based on needs in the projects, or they may be administrative reviews, change orders, contract reviews, a number of reasons. But I'll make sure to bring up a slide.
Sure. And again, it's really to see how the board can help, not really to micromanage. I mean, I think if you guys have visibility, you guys can work through those issues, but more than anything is what the board can help with.
Definitely. Thank you.
Mr. Chair and committee member, again, my name is Jorge Santillan, Finance Manager. I will go over the FY26, a summary of the FY26 preliminary proposed operations and maintenance budget for BPUB. And just to give you some historical, on June the 2nd, we had the budget kickoff. In mid-June, the department, they submitted their O&M budgets request. A week later, they submitted their CIPs. Since then, the finance, we've been working with revenue projections, compiling and summarizing all the O&M requests. And also last week, we met with all the divisions to go over their CIP requests. First, we're going to be looking at the proposed budget source of funds, revenues. We're going to start with electric base rate revenues, shown in the blue, like the greenish blue color. This total 82.4 million, and this is the fixed portion of the electric rate charged to customers. Now, these revenues were projected using a 3-year historical average, which is the same methodology applied in prior years. Next, we continue with the electric FPEC revenues, the fuel and purchase energy charge, and this covers the cost of the fuel used for electric generation, purchase power, and associated costs. The total is 90.2 million, and this is the same amounts that we show on the expense side, which is a pass-through cost to the customer. Next, we continue with water revenues for 36.1 million. And as mentioned in the third bullet point, water and wastewater revenue projections incorporate a 5% rate increase, which goes into effect January the 1st, 2026. And this was approved back in May the 3rd, 2022. Resaca fee, 4.2 million, and this is revenues are projected using the current monthly rate of 6.25 per customer. Then we have the wastewater revenues of 33.8 million. Same as the water revenues, includes a 5% rate increase, which goes into effect January 1st, 2026. Then other revenues and non-operating revenues totaling 18.6 million. And this includes congestion revenue rights, penalties and late fees, security light fees, connection and service charges, and transmission cost of service charges. And lastly, we have the interest revenue of 4.8 million, and this revenue is based on forecasted reduced interest rates for FY 2026. Any questions on this slide? Total revenues, 270 million, 0.1. Now we go to the proposed budget use of funds, the expenses. Looking at the circle on the left side, we're going to start with O&M expenses of 107.8 million. And then on the right side, we have a breakout of the O&M expenses. Beginning with the blue, personnel, this totals 60.8 million. And this includes, for this amount, for this personnel, we applied an offset or reduction of 7% is historical vacancy savings. This 7% is equals to approximately 2.7 million. So basically, we got the total personnel expenses, and then we reduce it by this 7%. So basically, we budget at personnel, we budget at 93%. Next, we have the non-personnel, 43.4 million. Next, we have the Resaca fee funded O&M, 1.7 million. Next, we have for this budget also includes the inflationary wage adjustment totaling 1 million, and this equals to a 2% wage increase for our employees. And this 2% is based on the Consumer Price Index as of May 2025. Next, we also include the 500,000 for a merit program, the second year of the merit program. And also we include, same as last year, we include 350,000 for new positions. The number of positions and which positions, that's to be determined at a later time. Continuing on the left side with other non-operating expenses, 1.1 million. Next, debt service fund, 29.6 million, and this is the principal and interest requirements on our long-term debt. Next, city gross transfer of 17.3 million, and this includes the cash transfer to the city and the utility consumption. Now, this 10% is based on the adjusted gross revenue. Next, we have the available for transfers out, 17.2 million. Again, we show a breakout on the right side, beginning with on the green section, the improvement fund transfer funding for CIP, 9 million. Improvement fund Resaca fee CIP funding, 2.6 million. Sub-account fuel adjustment, 1.5 million. And then the last two, those are the reserves. The second year of the reserves for the first one is the power supply stabilization reserve, 2.2 million. And then the commissioning reserve, 2 million. Moving on to the, continue on the left side, we have the power supply cost of 90.2 million. Again, this is the same amount that we saw on the revenue side of the revenues, 90.2 million. So again, this is cost is just what we spend, that's passed on to the customer. Next, we have the contribution, or 93% contribution to the SRWA for O&M, debt service, and capital items, 6.9 million. Total expenses, same as the revenues, 270.1 million. Any questions on this slide? Here we have the non-personnel comparison bar graph. Here we look at the last bar. That's the, as of today, the proposed 2026 non-personnel expenses of 43.4 million. Now, this is the way we came out to this amount is we average the actuals for the last 2 years, and also we look at the current year spending trends. And also, there were some anticipated increases for FY 2026. The difference or the increase between the approved 2025, which is shown in the third bar in the yellow, of 41.4 million. So the increase is almost like $2 million, and this increases is mainly seen in the materials and supplies, rental of equipment, liability insurance, and fleet and maintenance and repairs. Now, again, this amount, this is a preliminary amount. We still need to meet with the executive team. So, of course, there may be some changes, and also eventually we're going to meet with the board members on an individual basis. Also here, the first two bars, we have the actuals for 23 and 24. The brown bar, the second to the last, that's we told departments, okay, give us all your requests for FY 26. I know like every year they submit an amount that we cannot budget for everything, but we want to capture everything so we can know what's the need out there. And in this case, the total requested was 56.4 million, which is similar as what they submitted last time on the initial, when they initially submitted their request. Again, the 43.4 million, the proposed, that's more in line with what we've been spending in prior years. Any questions on this slide? Yeah.
So the amount requested versus what's been the actual in the past and approved in the past and projected, that's a pretty big difference. Is there anything in that number that's like critical? I mean, because 56 million versus we're doing 43 million, that's a pretty
Yes,
big percentage.
13 million difference, more or
Is there
less.
anything in there as you go through this process that's like kind of essential that we're putting off, or is it, why is, that's just a big difference?
This is a long list. Some of those, they're one-time projects, for example. They may start in 2026, perhaps they may start later. We can, of course, we're gonna provide that list to analyze it with the executive team and then see perhaps some of those items, they have to be, make it into the budget.
Let me interject a little bit here. We did review this at the director's levels, and Mr. Santillan was not there when we present, but some of the things that we're looking is the spend patterns that we've had for the last 5 years and how much we do for our O&M expenses. So they're non-personnel items that are here that were requested versus how much we're spending. As you can see, the previous actuals in years where we're at, we believe that the proposed amount that's there is what's going to be spent. We don't, if we have a critical project that must be done, we will prioritize and do that. We can come back and give you a list of items that are in there that maybe were deferred. Some of it is if we have, let's say, some personnel that is out or various different resource constraints. If they're in-house projects that are maintenance related that were intended, there's only so many hours in the year that we need to do. So we're aligning and we're working through getting our online tools in place to have a better management of that. I think that Mr. Dabrowski and his team are doing a very good job with David Ramirez, but we can have a presentation that to get to the root cause of the ask versus why we're putting the brakes on the 43,000 proposed budget.
I would just kind of address maybe the major, not every single one, but, you know, of that difference, you know, are there a few items there that account for half of it, or is it really just a bunch of small, everything has a few small?
Right now, I haven't looked into see if it's a lot of little items that add up to a lot or where it is, but it's each individual department throughout the organization that may have had a little bit more than expected. Let's say we have a renewal, and the renewal we have locked-in rates, but then if we're expecting that renewal to be sometime in the middle of our budget year, staff has included a contingency. And so we believe that sometimes that contingency is maybe a little bit higher than what it actually comes. In some cases, it can lower, and we've had that also happen. It's happened for sand and materials like concrete and caliche, things of those natures. But other items, the same thing happens with our just materials that are costs that are increasing. So although they're seeing certain indicators, we believe that the 43 is higher than this projected for 25 versus what it might be. I don't know if Mr. Dombrowski, if you have anything else to add on that, or that pretty much covers what we are seeing the trends. We're just trying to make sure the staff stay within what we think they're going to spend for the year in the spend plan.
Thank you. Here we have on this slide, we have the combined summary of revenues and expenses. And looking at column E, this, we have in line number 1, the gross revenues, 270.1 million. From here, we subtract the production of fuel, purchase power and other, 90.2 million. Then we reduce the Southmost Regional Water Authority requirements, 6.9 million. Results in adjusted gross revenue of 173 million, this is also the basis for the transfer to the city. On the expense side, we got the operating expenses, 107.8 million. Other non-operating expenses, 1.1. Debt service, 29.6. City cross transfer, 17.3. Transfers out, 17.2. And then these total expenses equal for 173 million, which results in the balanced budget of adjusted revenues equals to expenses. The projected debt service coverage for 2026 at that 2.17 times, which is above the 1.25 times requirement. This is the same information, more detailed, similar to what Mr. Perez presents on a monthly basis, but similar as on the previous slide, just more detail. On this, also, every year we request, ask departments to provide the additional personnel needs for the new year. For FY26, new position requests are shown on slide number 11. Line number 97, they requested total of 68 new positions with an estimated wage and benefit cost of 5.2 million. The side note, the proposed FY26 personnel budget includes 350,000 for new positions, which is the same amount as FY2025. I guess the number and which positions to be determined at a later time.
Let me go ahead and add right here. Just because staff requested 68, we want you to see the transparency of what they're requesting, and us and management, we're looking and reviewing where we think. If there's vacancies in the department that haven't been filled and yet other additional requests are being in there, then at that point chances are. So we're asking for a budgeted amount for us to work within the budget year to make sure that we have the position controls in place. 68 positions, as you can see, the wages and benefits is 5.2 impact to our budget is not something that we're proposing right now. We're proposing a dollar amount for us to manage as we feel and see the need for the respective areas, and a business case can be made. If a business case can be made, if we have an external source of a contract and bringing it in-house, then at that time we'll come to the board and say this is what we're proposing to reduce to offset that contract.
Just looking at the calendar events, today, of course, we presented the budget draft to this committee. The August 11th, the budget draft is included, same document as today, as what we presented today is going to be included in the BPUB board agenda as a consent item. Then on the week of the 11th through the 15th, and we already have a date, it's going to be August the 12th, we're going to meet with the executive team so we can go over the O&M and CIP budgets. Then the week of the August 18th through the 22nd, we plan to have individual board member O&M and CIP budget briefings. And lastly, the plan is to have on September the 8th, present budget to the BPUB board for consideration and approval. And this is the end of the presentation. Any questions or comments?
Not right now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that was it, right?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
I'll second.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.